So, yep, like I said, I'm an admissions rep from the University of North Dakota. And joining me today is Kara from our athletics. So I'll let her introduce herself real quick.
Yeah, my name is Kara Helmig. I'm the Associate AD for Internal Operations and the Senior Women Administrator here at the University of North Dakota. Been here about 12 years, so I'm excited to get to meet everybody and to share about our university.
All right. So, Kara, I'll let you go ahead and start with going through the athletic slides. Just let me know when you need me to move them through.
Perfect. Thanks, Hannah. So you can go to the first one. So basically, we do have a very robust Division I athletics department here at UND. We have 17 sports at this point, with our conferences being the Missouri Valley Football Conference, the National Collegiate Hockey Conference, and the Summit League. So the Summit League is the host of the majority of our sports that are listed there. Obviously, our men's hockey team is very competitive, one of the top teams in the country. And at the collegiate level, if we had a championship last year, we were number one going into playoffs, so it would have been a great year. But would have got to hang our 9th championship intercollegiately. But hopefully, this is the year for that. But this year, we are looking at our first year in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and so we're excited about that. And our second year in the Summit League. So we do have, for those that are wondering, indoor and both outdoor track and field, as well as cross country for both men's and women's side. And then, as you can see there, the listing of all the other sports. So we do have quite an international community here at our athletics department. We do have roughly around north of 200 student athletes, and usually about 40 to 50 of them are international. About half that is typically Canadian. So we are obviously very close to the Canadian border here in North Dakota. Obviously, closest major city would be Winnipeg for reference if you're looking for where we're located. We do have, like I said, Canadian student athletes in many of our sports, golf. We've had tennis athletes. Obviously, we've had lots of men's hockey athletes on our men's team. Usually 25 to 50% of our men's hockey team is from Canada. We do have Canadian athletes in our softball and soccer teams as well in the recent past. So we are quite welcoming to Canadian athletes, and we do have an experience with recruitment and helping through the initial eligibility process, which is oftentimes can be cumbersome for students who are international. Go to the next one. Oops. Back one, if you could. Back two. One more. Thanks. So in academics, we do have a full staff that's ready to help you with your academic disciplines. We do have a staff inside of athletics that would be act as your advisors, and every team has their own advisor. And then we also have obviously professional advisors within all of the academic programs. Our group that works with us in athletics, they are here to also help you get through the NCAA eligibility process of all the different requirements that are required to get through eligibility and to stay out playing your sport. We have learning specialists as well in athletics that are also there for tutoring to help those students who need a little extra attention. And then we have our own in athletics study centers and computer labs, also computers for the athletes to take as well if they need for one for the road or for a team trip. Next one. So as I mentioned, there is some various steps, especially for international students, to be eligible as an NCAA athlete. There are the same requirements as American students. You have to have 16 core courses, and it has listed there, as you can see in that slide, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of natural physical science, and then 1 year of additional full core in your math, English, or science. And then 2 years of social science, and then 4 years of additional 4 years credits of other core. And that can be your languages, other things like that. Oftentimes, especially when we get to the different Canadian provinces, as you all know, probably the provinces do award credits differently across the country there. So it is quite important, depending on the province that you're from, that you do work with the school that hopefully that's recruiting you, and that they can help you navigate to make sure that all of your credits are counting properly, but also that you're getting the full credit that you should for the various courses, especially as we know, grade 9 often in Canada, is counted differently than the years that follow. So it can be something that you want to make sure that you go to a school if you want to be an athlete that has a Canadian experience with recruitment. Additionally, there are some other requirements. If you are able to compete, it's called being a full qualifier. If you are a full qualifier, you have all those courses that I listed, but you also have a certain GPA, and you have, in non-COVID years, you have an SAT or ACT that balances. So right now there is sort of a moratorium for the NCAA for testing, for test scores for the 2021 graduating class. For graduating classes after that, we'll have to see how hopefully COVID will be done with, so we won't have to worry about that. But right now there are some moratoriums for the class of 2020 and 21. So it is something to make sure you're communicating with your recruiting coach, but also the school, the compliance office there, so they can make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do in order to be eligible that first year. If something were to happen, if there's a hiccup or there's something that doesn't match up and you are what's called a non-qualifier, then you would just sit your first year in residence and you would study and do everything else. And but you'd have to, there are some restrictions on your ability to participate at that point. The other thing to talk about too is the academic red shirt, which is another term for the NCAA, and that is another eligibility status that would allow you to practice but not compete that first year. Your full qualifier status and your academic redshirt status both do allow you to earn your athletic scholarship, but your non-qualifier status, you would not be able to get your scholarship that year. So it's really important that you begin early with an American institution like UND, and you start communicating with them and your coaches about your academic accomplishments. Usually we always see most of our, we see Canadian students do perform quite well, and we usually have quite great success in getting them through the programs. This next slide is a little bit about our day in the life of a student athlete here at UND. And just so you guys know, the NCAA does put on requirements for how many hours athletes can do certain things. And so generally it's no more than 4 hours of mandatory activity a day. And so it's kind of broken up usually. So the schedule I put here is an example of our men's hockey and our women's soccer schedules. They do share facilities in the Ralph Engelstad Arena. And so if you've looked at that facility, it is quite impressive, and it's got, I think it holds 12,000 people, and the students have right up front and around center ice level, and it's a really exciting environment. It's top of the line ice rink for especially college hockey, if not pro hockey, throughout the country. So they start at 6 a.m. with a sort of morning stretch and conditioning. Then there's going to be a team breakfast, as this is the men's hockey dining room. They have their own dining room and facility in their space. Then they'll go to class from 8:30 to 1:30 or so, and then have lunch again when they return to the facility before practice and meetings. And then dinner will follow, all being provided in the space for these teams. After that, obviously they've got free time. Obviously it's gonna be studying or some social time, but it's really a dedication to being an NCAA student athlete. As you guys all know, just as you guys are dedicating to your sports now. One thing with UND is there is a live in the dorm requirement for the first year on campus. And so that's the current policy. So obviously sometimes things do change, but that is the policy for now. We do have 2 beautiful dining halls on our campus that are, one is very new, and then everything else has been updated. And then we do have a new student union that is just going to be really spectacular, opening for the 21-22 school year. At this point is the schedule, I believe. So we're really excited to have that opening, and that'll be offering more franchise restaurants. I don't know if we can say which ones. I don't know if we're allowed to publicly say what restaurants they're going to be, but it's definitely, there's really exciting things coming for campus. Let's see. For scholarships, we can talk about that next. So all 17 all sports have NCAA scholarships, and so some schools sometimes scholarship their teams differently. All of our sports are primarily almost fully funded. We do believe, obviously, in equity at this campus. So our men's and women's sports are fully funded equitably and fairly. Scholarships are annually reviewed and renewed by the coaching staff. So athletic scholarships in NCAA Division I are totally in control of the coaching staff. So we as administrators, we don't have a say in that, but there are NCAA rules protecting your rights on your scholarships. So at our school, they're reviewed annually. So some schools might do them multi-year deals. We only have single-year scholarships. So the other thing is that our scholarships are, they combine the NCAA and the federal government have rules on how much scholarship dollars you can get. So there are limits on if you were to get an athletic aid scholarship and a UND scholarship of some kind, and balancing that against your cap or your limit as an individual student. And so that's something that when those times come, we in athletics will talk you through that and help you make decisions about what scholarships to accept. Because some scholarships would put you over your possible limits. Next one. As I was saying, some scholarships do count against your limits and others do not. Our scholarships here, we're pleased and blessed to offer scholarships that include personal expenses, also called cost of attendance scholarships. So our scholarships do cover tuition and fees, room and board, books, and personal expenses. And so it is, you could see a point, especially if you're a freshman, you typically could see a refund of roughly $3,400 per year to you to use for personal expenses like travel and things like that, if you're living in the dorms as required. NCAA scholarships can be anything from 1% up to 100%, and obviously your refunds and your scholarship totals are percentages of the total of all those things, the athletics aid that listing there. I do want to note out, and this is across all universities that you look at, not just UND, that in the U.S., if as an international student, when you come to the U.S., there is a tax on your non-tuition and fees portion of your scholarship, and that's a 14% rate. That's not a thing UND sets. That's a entire U.S. country-based thing. So every school you go to as an international student, you would be seeing that tax. So I don't know if you want to hold questions, or I don't know if there was any questions in the chat that pertain to any of my slides or anything, but I think that's all I have. Hannah?
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely. And then, so kind of going forward, we'll talk more about more general information about UND, coming to UND, our programs, information like that. And then definitely if we have any other questions, we'll definitely refer back to you, Cara, when it comes to athletics. So I do see that there's a question come through about the approximate cost of residence. Kira, do you have any information on that based on like athletic scholarships or what students might have to pay in terms of the residence?
Yeah, it really depends on the scholarship that you're offered. And so obviously based on the scholarship that you would sign for, it would obviously detract by how much you have to pay. So, and then also here, the way our scholarships are, our cost at this campus, we have a new tuition model as of a year or so ago. And so your costs are also impacted by your major choices and the college that you're studying in. So it would really, without having more detail, it's, one, the scholarships that you're offered by athletics plus or by UND as well. And then also your choices as a personal choices of what you're going to study would tell us how much your cost would be roughly.
Great, thank you. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move forward. We're talking about more general information about UND, the types of programs that we have. So here at UND, we have over 225 different fields of study that students can go into. This is split among like our different colleges that we have on our campus. So definitely some of the big ones to note. We do have a College of Aerospace. A really prominent program within that is our commercial aviation program, professional flight programs. A lot of that attracts a lot of interest from students, especially internationally. But we also have a full College of Business. Business is definitely very prominent college on our campus, and something to note about that is we are actually breaking ground on a new College of Business building. So it'll be now the Nistler College of Business. And so we're very excited about that. That'll be completed for the fall of 2022. And like Kara mentioned, our new student union will be finished in the fall of 2021. So those are some really exciting projects that we have on our campus. We also have a full-scale College of Engineering. The College of Engineering is a really prominent program because it features pretty much all the major fields of engineering: electrical, mechanical, chemical, petroleum, etc. They are also all available online, so a lot of students can have either a lot of hybrid schedules when it comes to taking those courses or completing those programs, or they can be online or on campus students. And then we also have a College of Nursing and Professional Disciplines. One thing to note with our nursing program, students who come in for nursing, they have historically with UND, so over the last couple of years, have had a 95 to 100% passing rate for the NCLEX exam. And then we also have a social work program through that college as well. And then of course we have our College of Arts and Sciences and our College of Education. I like to mention those schools together just because typically they'll go hand in hand, as most of those students in those different programs are usually like double majors or may have, a particular major and minor of study that are kind of combined. But those are all really great opportunities as well. But basically, with having all these different colleges and program opportunities on our campus, along with the fact that we also have a full College of Graduate Studies and a medical and law school, means that UND is a full-scale research institution. This gives students a lot of different opportunities to be really involved in their coursework as well and get a really well-grounded experience in their college education. Our faculty members predominantly have the top degrees in their field and have a lot of different experience for students and being involved with them. So our average class sizes at UND are only about 24 students each. So predominantly most students will be in classrooms, kind of like what you see in the slide here, where it's set up more so an open space set up with different desks and tables. Students have the option to kind of move around and work more easily with each other. And then of course they are on more of an equal ground with their professor as well. And this is just, again, kind of adds to that experience of having, being fully involved and supported in the classroom too. We also have a lot of different academic support services. The majority of them are included in a student's tuition and fees. So for example, if a student needs like tutoring services, he needs to use our writing center or go see career services. Pretty much all of those options are going to be free at the time that they need to use them, which is a really great opportunity. We also have a lot of options to help students find internships as well. UND really does encourage our students to complete an internship before completing their undergrad, just because we know how important that job experience is. More so outside of the classroom. Oh. There we go. UND has over 240 different student organizations and clubs students can participate in. Again, we really want to encourage our students to be involved when they're on our campus and really find that sense of community, especially when it comes to talking about like international and Canadian students. We know that you're coming, possibly quite a ways away from home, and we want to make sure you find resources to support you. UND does have an Office of Diversity and Inclusion as well as an International Center. Both of those can be really great resources for students to find different activities and different communities to be a part of. So overall, looking at UND's numbers, I know Kara mentioned the athletics side of things, but in terms of overall enrollment, so for the fall of 2019, UND had about 136 Canadian students enrolled, with international students totaling about 659 students. And then this year for the fall of 2020, we have about 130 Canadian students enrolled and about 580 other international students. So we do definitely have that community on our campus. Students can find other students from where they're from or who share similar backgrounds. And it's really awesome for students to also be able to engage in different clubs and activities. So whether that's like an academic-based club that's more connected to the student's program, or if they're looking for opportunities like to join a sorority or fraternity, culture or faith-based groups, or even like our intramural and club-based sports teams. So students want to play a sport, a little bit more casual setting. Those are definitely all opportunities for students to be engaged on our campus. For housing, so as Kara mentioned, UND does have a first year housing requirement. So basically all of our first year freshman students coming to UND, they are required to spend their first year in on-campus housing. So we do have several different options for our first year students to go into. We have that classic resident hall where it's basically 2 students sharing a bedroom and everything else is communal space. We also have our more popular suite style resident halls, and how those are set up is students would be set up where it's 2 bedrooms with 2 students in each, and then those 2 bedrooms would have their own bathroom included in the unit. And then the units are usually set around in kind of like a ring design with a big community area in the center, so it's really easy for students to get to know each other and interact. And then we also have University Place as well, which is kind of the hybrid between a resident hall and a student apartment. University Place, again, it's set up where it's sort of like a 2-bedroom with 2 students in each bedroom. Each bedroom would have its own bathroom, and then there's also living and kitchen area. First year students, regardless of which resident hall type they choose, they're also required to have the Anytime Access meal plan. Like Kara mentioned, we do have some really incredible dining centers on our campus. Our newest one is Wilkerson Commons, and it's set up where it has really a full-scale options for what students can have. So we have everything from a pizza grill to an international stir fry to home-style classics to a salad bar. So really anything a student could want, it's there, including we have different options for different dietary types. So if you have an allergen or are vegan or vegetarian, there are options that are there for you. And UND is really good in making sure that it's inclusive space for those types of students. But overall, pretty much with the Anytime Access meal plan, students can go pretty much anytime they want to go get a meal. So we do that, and we really encourage that, especially because students often in their first year of college, they're encountering a schedule like they've never seen before. So it's really helpful for them to be able to go have those options and get a meal whenever they can fit it into their day. All right, and so finally, we'll talk about more on the admission side of things, and we'll also get into general cost information about UND as well. But to start with, up on the screen, we have our general first year admission requirements. So overall, for the application process, what most students encounter is when you apply, you would fill out the online application. There's a $35 application fee to submit it. And then UND would just request that you send your official high school transcripts to us. So if you have started taking any college credits while you're in high school, you would also need to send those transcripts as well, along with any test scores, such as if you did like AP testing or anything like that, you would need to have those scores sent as well. But through the summer of 2022, for UND admissions, we have waived the ACT, SAT requirement due to COVID-19. Depending on how everything shapes going forward, that potentially could be continued, but we're really hoping that with the fall of 2021 and going after, we'll be returning to more of a new normal. So if you have any questions about what application requirements might be, UND does update our website as soon as we make those decisions. So all of our admission pages on our website will update with more information. So the link is there listed, und.edu/admissions. That's a really great resource to go to. But otherwise, for the majority of students, if you meet a GPA of 2.75 or higher when applying, you're going to meet our admission criteria. There are a few programs on our campus that might have additional requirements or recommendations for the application process. I would just highly recommend that you look on our website, visit the different program pages for whatever programs you're interested in, and see if there's any other requirements or recommendations they might have. Couple examples of programs that have additional requirements are definitely nursing and commercial aviation. So again, those resources are available on our website to check out. A few things to mention when it does come to international students. So for students who are applying to UND, if you have college credits from another country, and that's comes to UND in the form of a college transcript from that particular college or university. You will need to have that university transcript evaluated by an official evaluator. So UND typically recommends using WES services for evaluations. Typically for Canadian schools and Canadian universities, we do accept them and we don't necessarily require an evaluation. But I just want to let students know about that just to be prepared. And then Kara, I believe it is true that for students who are coming to play an NCAA sport, when they do apply and they're from an international country, they do need to have their international high school transcripts evaluated as well.
Right. Yeah, they need to be, but for Canadians, unless you're in the CEGEP or Quebec, and as long as they're English, they'll be accepted by the NCAA. So
right,
they need to be translated for the NCAA as well.
Yep. So that's just additional note. Again, if you have any questions, definitely check out our website for more details, or you can definitely contact our admissions office as well. Looking at tuition, overall, the best resource to find out about tuition is definitely going onto our website, just because tuition rates really do vary depending on what college your program would belong to. A couple things to note is for on-campus students, UND does cap our tuition at 12 credits. So for full-time students, usually per term, students will take anywhere from about 15 to 17 credits. It's pretty average. Anything above 12 credits, you're essentially getting for free from UND. So that's just a useful bit of information. When we're looking at Canadian students, students from Manitoba and Saskatchewan, you do have the US non-resident rate can be applied to you. So that is an option for students. Other students from other provinces in Canada, you would fall under the international tuition rate as well. But all that information is included on our website. Again, if you look up every program, you can actually change the different residency types and actually view the tuition differences and see what tuition rate you would fall into. Overall, though, UND is considered a really affordable college. So compared to the national average of other universities of our program diversity, our student body, other information like that, we're about $4,000 less per year for our tuition and costs. So again, if you have any questions on that, definitely utilizing our website is a great resource.
Hey, Hannah, can I interrupt? There's a question about a kinesiology undergrad track athlete scholarship. Approximate cost for a student, for Canadian students in kinesiology major, that would be what we call, if you look at the website, it's a base major. So if you go to the financial aid website on that Hannah is referencing for und.edu, you'll find all the scholarships. find all the rates. And so for Canadians, you'll be under the international, and you would be base rate for kinesiology. And so there are some exceptions though for Manitoba and Saskatchewan are considered, I believe, you guys used to get, sometimes we'll get a contiguous rate. And so you'll need to pay attention to that in your majors. But for kinesiology major, your base, so you're looking at roughly your first year, $32,000, roughly north of $32,000 would be this total cost to you. But that's a ballpark based on your choices of residence hall or books, your books cost, things like that. And the other follow-up question was, do we offer health insurance to international students? We do, and part of our athletics, we do cover those costs, that international tuition. The international insurance rate, we do pay for that in athletics. So that is part of our package. So, sorry.
Thank you. And one more thing to mention too, I do see a question about deadlines. I will talk about other scholarships in a second that are offered campus-wide to UND students. But in terms of application deadlines as well, for UND for international students, if you are from Canada, you do have certain deadlines you do need to meet to apply to UND, basically to make sure that students can get their I-20 documentation in time to be able to come to the US for their studies. So for that, the requirement is The requirement is, or those deadlines are, for Canadian students or students who are already in the United States, you would need to apply or be admitted for the fall term on July 15th, for the spring term on December 15th, and for the summer term on April 15th. Again, most students traditionally enter UND their first year in the fall term. But however, if you're coming from outside the United States or you're not a Canadian student, and you're coming from another international country, then for the fall term, you would need to apply and be admitted by June 15th. For the spring, it would be November 15th, and for the summer, it would be March 15th. Again, that's mainly to make sure students are able to receive their I-20 documentation and also apply for visas on time if necessary. So finally, my main slide of information that I have is to talk about definitely scholarship opportunities at UND. So these would be scholarship opportunities that are offered to all students who apply, regardless if they go through athletics. Again, like Kara mentioned, if you are receiving the athletic scholarship, definitely making sure that you meet the requirements and that you don't go accept too much funding and follow those rules are really important. But overall, a couple to mention, we do have an automatic scholarship that we offer all of our freshman students. This is included for international Canadian students as well, but basically up on the screen, if a student meets the cumulative unweighted high school GPA on the left-hand side, you can qualify for the scholarship on the right-hand side. So that would be a scholarship that students can earn just by applying and sending UND the required academic materials. And then the key to achieving the scholarship as well is to make sure that you apply by the February 1st priority deadline. And then this would be a scholarship that is only awarded in the fall term. Otherwise, the other option that we have for scholarships on our campus is by majority, most or if not all of our scholarships go through the Scholarship Central application. Scholarship Central is an application that is connected to over 800 different scholarships with UND. Students basically go in after they're admitted, they can sign in, fill out the information, and it'll automatically send their application to all the scholarships that they can qualify for. So for the fall of 2021, the Scholarship Central application is currently open. For first year students, it will be open as well to February 1st. So if any students are seriously considering UND and are expecting that they might need scholarship resources, I do highly encourage applying early enough where you can complete the scholarship application, just so that way you don't miss out on any aid opportunities that you might require. But otherwise, in general, UND offers about 2,000 different academic scholarships each year, and they total about $7.8 million. So there's definitely other types of aid available from UND as well. And then finally, I do just want to mention that right now, UND is currently doing visits. So definitely if you're considering UND or really any college that you're considering, we do encourage that you take the time to plan out a visit. So UND has both virtual and on-campus opportunities. So on campus, you can definitely visit our campus, meet with admissions specialists, and then also take a campus tour. But if you choose the virtual option as well, we do have virtual tour opportunities connected to that. And you can either do our daily group visit, which is available Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time. You can sign up for that opportunity, or you can also sign up for an individual opportunity, in which case your information would be sent to the admission rep that's best fit to cover your information and to discuss with you your application process to UND. We also feature a lot of different academic appointments and sessions in a virtual format as well. So students are interested in meeting with a particular college or academic advisor, those arrangements can also be made as well. So those are just really great opportunities for students to learn more and have a little bit more personalized discussion about what it might mean to come to UND. So overall, that kind of concludes the information that I believe we have prepared today. So just thank you all for taking the time to come and listen to us. If there are any last questions we can answer, we'd be happy to do so. Otherwise, Kara, if you have any last minute thoughts or advice you'd like to give the students.
No, just obviously if you have a sport or a school, hopefully UND, that you have in mind that you would like to learn more about, please, and you really want to do play sport, please reach out to the coaching staff. They're there to answer your questions. We are in Division I level in a dead period right now for recruitment, which does mean that unfortunately our coaches and you as high school students cannot have any sort of in-person face-to-face interaction, whether it's off campus where they can't come and visit you in Canada, and if you guys do come to campus, which we hope you to see the campus, you just won't be able to see our coaches. And so it's just a bad time right now due to COVID, but that'll hopefully, as of right now, knock on wood, get lifted after January 1st. But if not, coaches are happy to Zoom with you, happy to talk to you on phone. All those things are also available. But communication's key. And like I said, we're very excited to get to meet all of you, and hopefully somebody will reach out soon.
Thank you, Hannah.